welcome back to my channel. My name is Molly and today we are talking about some of my favorite, all-time favorite 5 stars, would read forever, books that became a part of my soul kind of novels. We're talking about some of my favorite books of all time. Now, a couple things to note. I do have some favorites like Narnia and Lord of the Rings that were the books that got me into reading and got me into fantasy, and I think at this point I've talked about those a lot and everybody kind of really knows what they are, so maybe I'll do like a separate story time one day about like why those books meant so much to me and everything like that. So I'm kind of not going to mention those. Obviously like ACOTAR, specifically A Court of Silver Flames, is one of my all-time favorites too. So there's some like biggies that I feel like are somewhat obvious that I'm just not going to mention. I mean, I'll link them down below, but you know, they're ones that like you've probably heard of, so it's kind of like, oh cool, her favorite like all-time favorite books are Lord of the Rings and Narnia and ACOTAR. It's not a very exciting video. So these are some of the ones that maybe you haven't heard about, or you probably have, but are just maybe a smidge less like well known as fucking like Lord of the Rings. But let's jump into it, because these are a couple of my 5-star reads that I would just absolutely encourage everybody to take a crack at least once. First one is IQ 84 by Haruki Murakami. I have actually a very mixed relationship with Murakami. I have read a couple of his other works and I actually found specifically the female characters to be very, very flat. And I didn't like a lot of the other stuff that he's written, quite frankly. So I'll be very honest and say, like, you know what? I don't love a lot of the stuff this guy has done. Sorry. He's a super talented writer, like absolutely like a very, very iconic, like modern legend writer. Like, you know, your opinion on Murakami is like a thing, whatever. But this book, IQ 84, just absolutely like took me on such a fucking ride. I read it on vacation, so yes, I hauled this thick girl all the way to, I actually was traveling to India, so I had this in my carry-on, like hefty. This was like before I was using a Kindle. And I read it over my whole vacation, and I remember I finished it on a layover coming back home in Switzerland. I was on a layover flying home and I finished it, and I was at a really emotional place. I do a lot of like emotional processing when I travel, because I travel by myself and I'm a very spiritual person and stuff. So, you know, long story short, I was in a very emotionally vulnerable place for sure coming back, and like I finished this book and I just remember like almost like bawling in the airport at like 3 in the morning in Switzerland. It is a sci-fi book. It is not a fantasy. This is absolutely a sci-fi. I don't think it was like written as a romance. Like if you go to like pick up a romance book, this won't be in there, but like there is a love story between 2 main characters, and it is a huge part of the book. So, you know, it's kind of like The Fifth Element, where like, no wait, Bruce Willis and that chick don't hook up. No, they don't. I've only seen it once. Anyway, it's kind of like maybe like Star Wars, like you're not exactly watching Star Wars for like, you know, Han Solo and Leia, but like, you know, you watch it and like their love story is such a great part of it, kind of, you know, right? I'm getting that, right? God, the nerds are gonna come for me if I'm misquoting like fucking Fifth Element and Star Wars, but anyway, so I would say there's a very, very captivating love story that is a huge part of the plot. It's just not like, you know, written as a romance, so there's not a lot of like, you know, declarations of love, things like that. But it is really, really fantastic in terms of like who we are in this world. You know, do we have multiple lives? Do we encounter people that change our lives? What do we do for the people that change our lives? You know, it just a really, really good look at some of those things. So IQ 84, absolutely a 5-star. I love this book so much. And it's great, but you know, I will say it's pretty different from some of the other stuff that I typically recommend, and I don't love a lot of other things that he's read. Okay, A Discovery of Witches. This is actually really ironic that I'm even talking about this, because I haven't read the second one yet. I want to so badly, trust me. My reading schedule is a little chaotic these days because it's not always just like what I want to read. I have arcs that I typically have to read in a certain time frame. I've got books for book club, stuff like that. I'm also writing a bunch of books. Obviously, that's why I'm even here talking to you about these, is because I write them. But for the most part, this was absolutely a 5-star read for me. It's had everything that I love, magic and alchemy and witches and vampires and in dark academia. It is so smart. It is so sexy. I'm absolutely in love with Matthew Claremont. I was so disappointed when I saw, everyone's like, have you watched the show? And I was like, no, I saw who they casted for Matthew Fairmont. No respect to this man. But that's just not who I imagined as this like immortal vampire. My casting was actually a different French actor. I wanted this guy, but that's who I would have picked as Matthew Claremont, but I am not the casting director. And I'm sure that man did a wonderful job acting, just not who I pictured. So Discovery of Witches is absolutely a 5 out of 5 for me. It is so good. Fantasy, magic, dark academia, all those things that I talked about. I haven't read the second one yet, or the third, because I've just gotten so behind, but it is a 5 out of 5 for me. I just absolutely love this book, and I can't wait to read the second and the third, and I know that they're gonna be like just as good, so that's why this stays up there, even though I've only read the first book in the series. Because I'm a basic bitch. Song of Achilles. I'm sorry. I know I'm a basic bitch. I'm sorry, but you know, I'm not gonna say much about it. I'm just gonna let it, I know. One of my other favorites is The Alchemist. This book I read in an afternoon. You could also read it in an afternoon. It is very, very short, but this is one of those books that absolutely, I read it when I'm sad, I read it when I'm upset. It helps me retain my perspective on life. It is something that helped shift my worldview. You know, there's a lot of stuff in my life where I get, you know, nervous about who I am, where I'm going, you know. And this book always puts a lot of that in perspective and gives me so much hope, you know, and it just really shifted my view of the universe and does it in such like an eloquent, like almost childlike way. It's very much kind of like a fairy tale almost. It's not a complicated book at all. It's not like, you know, you're reading Proust or something insane. It's very simple, but it is a masterful masterclass, eloquent, of storytelling. And it is the most simple story, and it is something that absolutely made me, you know, just made me happy. It makes me happy. It reminds me of things just to keep holding on. So I love The Alchemist. I've seen some people in The Alchemist, like I've seen some chatter about The Alchemist because it's a pretty famous book saying like, oh, you know, it's like dudes liking Pulp Fiction, like if you like The Alchemist, and that's fine. That's fine. I do like Pulp Fiction actually. Like I said, I'm a basic bitch. That's fucking fine with me. I don't care. Don't police your joy, kids. Don't police your joy. If something makes you happy, who gives a fuck if it's popular? So yeah, I like Pulp Fiction, okay? I do. I like Pulp Fiction, and I really like The Alchemist, so fuck off. Anyway, one of my favorite series, actually, we'll just go ahead and say like series, but The Immortal City, which is like the first book of the Magicians of Venice series by Amy Corber-Lanen. You guys have like probably heard me talk about this one before, but I'm just here to fucking say it again. This is definitely one of my favorite books of all time. It has everything. It's just like Disco Witches for me. Discovery of Witches. If you like Discovery of Witches, you will absolutely love this. If you like ACOTAR, I think you will absolutely love this. It is a fantasy. Yes, it's a romance. It's fantasy, it is romance, it is like found family. It is some of the best adventure and myth style fantasy stuff. So it's based on like, you know, there's rumors about the lost city of Atlantis, but then there's in the second and third book, there's integrations with like the Dead Sea Scrolls, and they go from Italy to the Middle East, and there's time spent in Jerusalem. Like there's just integrations from so many different like Greek and Italian myth kind of thing, like Poseidon may show up at certain points kind of thing, but they also look at a lot of stuff relating to Judeo-Christian stuff as well, like the Lost Sea Scrolls. Some like, there's just like so much good folklore, like not folklore, but like myth, religion, like, you know, pulling from all those kinds of like stories and stuff. Definitely also I'd say like the main character is a doctorate, not a medical doctor, but a doctorate. So I would say this is also like got some dark academia vibes. You know, secret big libraries containing all the mysteries of the universe and stuff like that. So it's so good. This is just absolutely one of my favorite series. I feel like I reread it all the time. It's just my favorite, and Alexis is one of my favorite male main characters of all time. He's fucking perfect. So I think like, again, this series is just like, it's very much like Discovery of Witches. Like it is just up there for me in terms of like, it has everything. It's got this, just the fantasy and the myth and the characters that you love so much, and it's just perfect. It's just absolutely perfect. I will read these forever. I absolutely love that series. And then last one as well, I'm not even really gonna talk about this one as much because you've heard me talk about it. I'll link it up below, maybe those little tags that show up. I've already ranted about Heavenly Bodies, but it is just worth saying that Heavenly Bodies, as you guys know, is also now one of my top favorite books of all time. So that series is ongoing. I can probably say that Imani is a friend now, but it just deserves saying. You know what I forgot? Starless Sea. Hold on. See, this is the benefit of filming in front of your own bookcases. Starless Sea. I haven't read Night Circus. A lot of people ask me to compare the two. They're both by the same author, but I haven't read Night Circus, so I don't know. But Starless Sea is absolutely also one of my all-time favorites. I'll link my May reading recap here too, because I go into a little bit more detail about Starless Sea there, but worth saying it, just like Heavenly Bodies, I've talked about them before, but they have a place on this list. So those are just a quick rundown of some of my like all-time like 5-star favorites that I think you should definitely check out if you haven't. I will link everything below, but I wanna, you know, tell me in the comments, what are some of your favorites? What are some of your 5-star like secret reads? More unknown reads that like maybe people haven't read but should. I'm always looking for more like undiscovered gems and all that good stuff. So tell me in the comments below what some of your favorite 5-star reads are, and I cannot wait to discuss that with you. And I will see you next time.